Pol Pot the man behind Cambodia's killing fields? This is one of the darkest stories in human history. A story of power, ideology, fear, and unimaginable suffering. This is the story of Pol Pot, the man who turned an entire country into a prison, and its people into victims. Between 1975 and 1979, nearly 2 million people died in Cambodia. They were not soldiers in a war. They were ordinary citizens, teachers, doctors, children, monks, and farmers. How did one man cause so much destruction? And how did the world allow it to happen? Let's uncover the full story. Pol Pot was born as Salazar in 1925, in a small village in Cambodia. His family was relatively well-off compared to others in rural society. As a child, he lived a quiet life. Nothing about his early years suggested he would become one of history's most brutal dictators. In his teenage years, he moved to the capital city, Phnom Penh, for education. Later, he received a scholarship to study in France. This was a turning point. In Paris, he was exposed to communist ideas, the belief that society should be equal, without rich or poor. He joined a group of Cambodian students who believed in revolution. But instead of focusing on education, he became deeply involved in politics. Eventually, he failed his exams and returned to Cambodia, but he brought radical ideas with him. Back in Cambodia, Salazar joined the underground communist movement. Chimi. Cambodia was facing political instability and the effects of the Vietnam War. Over the years, he climbed the ranks quietly. He avoided attention, rarely spoke in public, and operated in secrecy. Eventually, he became the leader of a group known as the Khmer Rouge, a communist guerrilla movement. Their goal was extreme: to completely transform Cambodia into a classless, agrarian society. Says Numani, modern life, only farming, equality, and absolute control. By 1975, after years of civil war, the Khmer Rouge captured Phnom Penh. Pol Pot was now the leader of Cambodia. When Pol Pot came to power, he declared something shocking. He called it Year Zero. It meant that Cambodia's history would start again from zero. Everything from the past would be erased. Cities were emptied overnight. Millions of people were forced out of their homes at gunpoint. Hospitals were cleared. Even sick patients were pushed into the streets. Families were separated. Children were taken away from parents. People were forced to walk for days into rural areas. Many died along the way, from hunger, exhaustion, or execution. Money was abolished. Schools were closed. Religion was banned. Anyone who showed signs of education, wearing glasses, speaking a foreign language, was seen as an enemy. This is where the horror truly began. Pol Pot's Regime believed that to create a perfect society, they had to eliminate all enemies. But the definition of enemy was extremely broad. Teachers, doctors, intellectuals, monks, ethnic minorities, all were targeted. Even suspicion was enough for execution. Thousands of prisons were set up across the country. The most infamous was a place where prisoners were tortured until they confessed to crimes they never committed. After interrogation, prisoners were taken to execution sites, later known as the killing fields. They were often killed in brutal ways to save bullets. Many were buried in mass graves. Children were not spared. In fact, many were killed to prevent revenge in the future. By the end of the regime, nearly 2 million people had died, about 1/4 of Cambodia's population. Life under Pol Pot was a nightmare. People were forced to work long hours in fields with little food. Starvation was common. There was no freedom, privacy, trust. Even speaking against the regime meant death. Families were broken apart. Children were trained to spy on adults. The entire country became a system of fear. People lived every day wondering if they would survive the night. In 1979, neighboring Vietnam invaded Cambodia. They quickly defeated the Khmer Rouge and ended Pol Pot's rule. But Pol Pot did not immediately disappear. He fled into and continued a resistance movement for years. Meanwhile, the world slowly began to understand what had happened. Mass graves were discovered. Survivors shared their stories. The truth was horrifying. Later years and death. Pol Pot remained in hiding for nearly 2 decades. He was never fully brought to justice. In 1998, he died under mysterious circumstances, possibly from a heart attack. He never faced a proper trial. For many victims, justice never came. Pol Pot's story is not just about one man. It is about what happens when power is combined with extreme ideology and no accountability. Nearly 2 million lives were lost. Families destroyed. A nation traumatized. Even today, Cambodia is still healing from those scars. This story serves as a warning that silence, fear, and blind obedience can allow unimaginable crimes to happen, and that history must never be forgotten. If you found this story powerful, remember to share it, because remembering the past is the only way to protect the future.